All right, well, welcome back to the podcast. It has literally been 2 full years since I've recorded a solo pod, um, and I have missed it, and I wanted to kind of jump back into it for a couple of reasons. If you don't know, I used to be on staff at a church, and I loved having like day in, day out ministry, being able to talk about God and just like what He's doing in my life, and also being able to encourage people. And I miss that. So I thought that the podcast would be a good way to do that. So here we are, resurrecting the pod. Um, and there is a lot going on in my life that I want to be able to share with you guys and be able to, talk through. It's so fun that I've been creating this great and wonderful community on YouTube. And so this podcast will go there and also be on all of the other places that you listen to podcasts. So super excited to dive in to today's topic, which is cuffing season. It's so interesting to me because usually if I talk about a topic, I'm on the other side of it. And I love to do that because it's like I'm not so far removed from the issue that I can't sympathize and empathize with what people are going through. But also I'm through it, so I'm able to give more encouragement. But let's just say we're in the trenches together on this topic. So cuffing season, let's talk about it. Cuffing season is something that I'm sure culture, society made up, but honestly, like it's real. Cuffing season is that time that usually is like October through Valentine's Day where you want to be with someone. So it's like starting to get cooler outside. You might be into going to like pumpkin patches and apple orchards, which we don't have in Texas. So like October, okay. But like matching Halloween costumes and Thanksgiving with each other's families and matching Christmas pajamas and New Year's Eve kisses and Valentine's Day. It's all of those things. And I don't know about you, but like Amaris starts getting stressed in like May. In May, I feel October staring me straight in the eyes, being like, I'm coming. Are you ready for it? And the answer is no. I've never been ready for it. So I was thinking about cuffing season and thinking about how even I start to feel depressed and start to feel down and sad that I'm going through this season of like holidays alone, and it's not so fun, but I know that other people are going through it as well. And so I wanted to make a little podcast about it. So yeah, that's kind of why it's relevant to my life right now. So, I have never been one to like feel the societal pressure of being in a relationship until this year. It's so crazy. Like, it's always been something that I've just desired on my own, but lately it's been this thing where it's like, okay, I'm 32, which you could not have told me I'd be 32 and single with no kids. Like, what in the world? This is not my life plan. But I'm 32 and single, and I'm starting to feel the pressure of like looking around and seeing people who are like 10 years younger than me, people I used to babysit who are like married and starting their families and like all of these things. And I am feeling the pressure of that. I don't love it, but it's where we are and it's the truth. So, I, funnily enough, I think because of this whole cuffing season thing, have gotten back on dating apps, and it is a nightmare. I don't know how people do this long term and consistently because it feels like a colossal waste of my time. I understand that my standards are high, but they're not really that high, guys. Like, I don't understand. I'm like, I would like someone who has a job, who loves Jesus, and like wants a family. Those are like the usually like the three deal breakers that I have. Okay. Also, I'm totally lying in this because I also have this thing where like if you're drinking alcohol in your first picture, immediately swipe left. If you have a dog or cat in your first picture, immediately swipe left. And if you have a cat at all in your pictures, immediately I swipe left. So maybe I'm the problem. In the words of Taylor Swift, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. I refuse to change that though, because yeah, why would I? So I do feel like back to cuffing season, I do feel like this season like shines a spotlight on being single because it is like such a coupley time. People are doing so much. You are on Instagram and you're seeing like not only your friends and people that you know and love, like doing all of this like coupley stuff and being in relationships, but also I feel like every Instagram ad is like based on relationship stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot escape it. But I do think that some people start to scramble and they try to, get in relationship just for the season. And that's not really me. I think I mostly just deal with like the pressure of not having someone. Like, I am definitely not going to settle or get into a relationship, but I do have to like deal with the emotions of not being in a relationship. So let's kind of talk about that. I know that for me, like the highlight of emotions that I'm experiencing are like one, disappointment with God. And it's like, that's a heavy one to talk about because it's this whole thing where like, I feel like I've put the most faith, like I have used the most faith, I guess, in believing God that like He's going to answer this prayer. And, every year you start off with like, oh, this is going to be the year. And then, I mean, you're months away from the year ending and it's not happening. So I think there's like the disappointment with God. I think there's discouragement in my faith. I think there's a little bit of depression. So we got disappointment, discouragement, and depression. And so I am having right now in this moment to reframe the narrative. I'm having to figure out how to really enjoy the season and be present in the season and not only like just survive the season because it's literally like what? November, December, January, February. Like it's 4 months. You can't just, or I guess 5 full months. You can't really just survive that. Like you have to figure out how to really thrive in this season. And I don't have all the answers, but I do think it's something that we can like work through together. So I'm trying to reframe this season. Like I said, reframe the narrative. And like one way that I'm doing that is like this podcast. It's finding things that are gonna like fill my cup and help me find purpose, I guess, because I had this moment the other day in my car where I was driving like 2 nights ago and I was coming back and I was like listening to this song and I was just like, it was a worship song and I was honestly crying and praying and I was just like, I am building this like beautiful life that I love, that God has given me such a special opportunity to build. But like, wow, does it feel like I'm building for nothing? I'm like, okay, so like I'm doing all of these things and like saving and like doing what, but like for what? Like, who do I get to share this with? I think that's like one of the most beautiful parts of life is like sharing it with someone that you love and like being able to leave a legacy and passing it down to your kids. And like, what does that look like if that is not my truth? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But I do think that I'm finding purpose in the now. So like it's October, the beginning of all of these like cute, holiday months. And I still think they can be cute. Like I still think that, I'm going to go to a little cute like Halloween party and I'm going to dress up and I'm going to make my costume awesome. I'm not going to allow like what I hoped for to keep me from what is. And what is right now is that, again, like I have a beautiful life with great community and I get invites to things and I'm going to go. Like I'm going to not, stay at home and like miss out on memories with people who love me because I'm a little depressed. I was thinking about how like this really is not just cuffing season, but like singleness in general. I do feel like this is a time where you really have to trust God's timing. And I was thinking about something that I often ask myself, like, Amaris, I tell myself, Amaris, you either like trust God or you literally don't. Like, there is no middle ground of like, I kind of trust him because you kind of don't, And so I was reminded of the scripture, Psalm 37:4, that says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And delighting myself in the Lord has been something that I feel like kind of has been missing in this season. I think I've been just in this discouragement and this doubt and disappointment season. And so I know that sometimes I choose to run from God instead of running to God. And like, I think that running to God makes you have to face the pain and makes you have to face the discouragement and disappointment and doubt. Whereas, like, if you just run from it, you kind of just can bury it, even though it still comes up. And so I'm having to, like, remind myself that I have to delight myself in the Lord. Like, that's the joy of the Lord is your strength. Like, you're not going to get any joy. You're not going to get any delight. You're not going to get anything outside of God. Like, you have to run to God. So that is kind of like how I'm reframing the narrative. Another thing that I'm having to do is like really be present, because you can spend all day thinking about the future and like what you're hoping for and what you hope like will come. And I think there's, valid time for that. You should definitely do that. But I also think that there is power in staying in the present and in acknowledging like the space that you're in for sure. But like the fact that you are alive and breathing and have things happening now. This is like kind of like a weird analogy or anecdote, but I remember a few years ago, my grandfather basically got put on to hospice. And it was in a season where I was transitioning like jobs, and I had the privilege of going and like spending so much time with him in the 6 months before he died. And it was like so amazing. I was so thankful for it. But I do remember there being one day where I like went for a walk in the park, and I was just so overcome with like the diagnosis, because he was literally my favorite person in the whole world. And I remember thinking like, oh gosh, like I have no idea how I'm going to get through this. Like I literally have no idea how I'm going to be able to process all of these emotions. And I remember thinking like, but today's good. And I got to spend so much time with him today, and we laughed and we talked about, all of these things that were great, and it was such a good day. And it was like really the moment that I realized you do only have grace for today. Like, can you get through today? Like, can today be a day where you take it for what it is and enjoy it? And I feel like since that moment, I have like, of course, had to remind myself of that several times a day. But I have been so much more open to just staying in the present of like, hey, yeah, this emotion is way too big for me to handle today. So I'm going to push that to whenever I need to handle it. And for now, I'm going to stay present in this moment. And like, I do feel like God helps you, or God opens your eyes to like the blessings that you would have missed if you were just focused on like what you don't have, or like the weight of something that's in the future. So yeah, the power of being present. I guess the next thing that is something that we have to talk through is like combating loneliness, because again, like cuffing season, literally like everywhere you look, it's all like coupley, very cute relationship things. And it would be such a disservice to like myself and to all of you to not acknowledge the fact that loneliness exists and that we all feel it. Like loneliness is like something that ebbs and flows for me. Like sometimes I'm so grateful that I'm single and like can do what I want. And other times it is like a crater in my heart of loneliness. And I think I especially feel that in this season. And so how do we deal with that? Again, I think it goes back to like the thing that I was talking about of reframing the narrative of like, you really have to take every opportunity that you have to draw near to Jesus, because he is the only thing, especially like, again, like if you trust God in all the areas of your life and you trust God that he has a plan and a purpose for this particular area, then like there is nothing missing right now. That's really hard to like conceptualize and really hard to figure out. But it's true. Like, if this is not the moment in time that God has designated for you to be in a relationship, for me to be in a relationship, then there's nothing missing. There's nothing lacking. So if you're feeling like something's missing or something's lacking, that is something that could only be filled by Jesus and by the Holy Spirit. And so you're going to have to run to that. You're going to have to cling to Jesus in this moment. And you're going to have to do something about it. So I know that my proclivity and natural inclination when I'm feeling lonely is to cuddle up on this couch with this blanket, turn on Netflix, and probably watch something that's not life-giving or that reminds me of my current situation. But I am finding that you have to like take a step. You have to actively choose, like, I am feeling lonely right now, so what am I going to do? Like, it doesn't always have to be that you run and like read your Bible. You can like also interact with the community that God's blessed you with, of like, today I feel lonely, and in a few hours I'm going to see a movie with one of my best friends. And I'm so pumped about that, so excited, so looking forward to that. You have to like take every opportunity that you can to pull yourself out of the dust and out of the loneliness. And again, just like trust God. There's a scripture in Isaiah 41:10, and it says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." Like, that is a promise for you. That is the character of God that is still alive and active and present today. And like, what a beautiful thing, you know? Again, it's like we really have to reframe where we are, because like, yes, our loneliness exists, and yes, it's real. Yes, it's something that we need to work through. But also, like, there are so many people who are living without hope, who like have no other hope. They have to just sit in their loneliness and sit in like their present reality. Whereas we who have hope in Jesus, who's never failed us, like, we don't have to stay there, you know? So you got to do something to get out of that state that you're in. Another thing to talk about is like trusting God's timing. Again, way easier said than done. Oh man, I have really been, this has been tested probably in the last month or two for me, of like, clearly you don't know what you're doing, God. So let me help you. I think that is another reason why I've gotten on dating apps, because it feels like if you're just like sitting and not swiping, which honestly awful. If you're just sitting and not doing anything, it's like, am I helping God enough? And also I'm like, have I missed it? Like, did God miss it? Is there anyone on this earth for me? But like, God's timing is real, and that's annoying. I know none of you want to hear that, so I'm gonna not harp on that, but I do want you to know that like, God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with what we thought would happen. And don't allow the timing to frustrate you so much that you start to lower the standard. I'd gone the other night to like a worship night with some friends, and my friends, I hope she's okay with me sharing this, I won't say names, but like my friend's boyfriend was like praying like an intro prayer, and he like shared a word or whatever. And usually that would be something that would be like, get me fired up for who I'm gonna marry, because I always like have this idea of like this guy, and like what I hope for out of him. Like, I am just, hoping and praying that he is a man of God who leads our home, and like who can lead us in prayer and cover us and all of these things. And it was so interesting that like I felt nothing in that moment. I was like, maybe that's just not going to be my story. And I realized instantly, I'm like, man, you are really letting this timing thing frustrate you and lead you into this whole area where you're not even believing for what you've been believing for since you were like 13 years old. Like, I have been praying for this man for so long, and just because it hasn't happened yet, I'm going to throw everything out of the window. Like, that is not an option for you or for me, okay? So we're going to continue to trust in God's timing. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us that there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Like, that includes your relationship. There's a timing for it, and it's hard to trust God, but like, we just have to do it, okay? Okay. going to move past that one because I know that we don't like it. And so finally, I feel like the last thing that we have to do is like embrace the waiting season. And I think that a lot of people wait inactively, and they are just like, oh my gosh, my life means nothing until I'm married, until I have kids. And I think that society and even the church tells us that that's true. And I've had to redefine that for myself, like, yes, I'm in a waiting season, but my waiting season is definitely not going to be boring. Like, we're going to travel the world. We're going to meet new people. We're going to have events. We're going to send out a Christmas card because I freaking love Christmas cards. And I've been waiting my entire life to send out a Christmas card with my husband. And I don't have one yet. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send out a freaking Christmas card because I think they're cute. And I think that Emily Post would be proud. So I've really just been like trying to shift my perspective, shift my focus, not focusing on what I don't have, but like focusing on the joys of being single. So shall I point out some joys of being single? I think I shall. I love that my car was acting a hot mess and I just decided I'm going to buy a new car. And I didn't have to consult anybody about that. I just bought a new car. I love that I get to come home and I get to take a shower. I get to put on my pimple patches, put my retainer in my mouth, put my mouth tape on, look a hot mess, go into bed, and read my book, and really not have to talk. I love that there's just so much freedom. Like, I decided that I wanted to go to Paris for Christmas. Who did I have to consult? My checking and savings account, but not another human. There are a lot of great things about this season. Am I looking forward to the day where I can make decisions with someone? Sure, yeah. But like, there are joys of being single. And it's like an opportunity to focus on like self-care and personal growth as well. It's an opportunity to strengthen your friendships with both your family and your friends. Like, that's good. That's good. It's a time to pursue hobbies and like pack your schedule and serve other people and do all of this stuff. It's not a time to just like sit back and be like, oh, maybe my DoorDash delivery driver will be the one. He's not, okay? Okay. So here's what we can do. There are ways to thrive. Again, like create your own holiday traditions. Your girlfriends who are married definitely want to do things without their husbands and without their kids. So how about you take charge? They would love for you to take charge of creating a day, creating a few hour thing where you guys get together and do something fun. Have the people over at your house, do some cookies, do, I don't know, painting, friendship bracelets, I don't know, go to the spa, like go to the movies. This is the time to do it. Plan some solo adventures, like go to a coffee shop looking cute, read a book. Maybe somebody will pop up there. Pamper yourself, journal about this time. Like, that is one thing that I'm really glad that I have YouTube for, but one thing that I feel like I'm not doing so well is like documenting what I'm feeling in this moment, because there's so many people who are going through it at the same time, who are going to want to learn from you, and even like maybe your kids one day will want to read through the struggle and see how there were ebbs and flows, but see how you ultimately trusted God and how, that made room for them. So anyway, shift your mindset and focus on like what you love about being single, because there are perks. I just listed some. So you just got to find what they are for you. They may not be the same as me, but you have to find like what is a perk for you. Okay? All right. So here are my final thoughts on the matter. I think you should feel the feelings. I think that it's really important not to ignore and not to bury the feelings of being single in such a coupley time. But I think when you feel the feelings, you have to run to God with those feelings. You can't just be sitting in the dark. Literally, I'm going to tell you what I did yesterday. All the lights were off. All the windows were shut. I felt the feelings and I didn't run to God. And do I feel better today? No, I do not. But I'm about to, because I am about to go to the movies with my friend. So that was a weird question. I didn't feel better yesterday, but I do feel better today because I have made plans for today. I prayed about it, talking to the Lord about it, okay? So feel the feelings, but don't bury them. Don't ignore them. Bring them to the Lord. Remember that it's not a time where you're missing out. It's a time for you to thrive. That's going to look differently than what you had maybe imagined in your head, but that's okay. Do what you got to do. Make plans with your friends. Make traditions. Send out a Christmas card if you want. Anyway, I love you guys, and I am praying God's best for you. I'm praying that this encourages you to not just sit in the dumps of cuffing season, but that you will thrive in the season of the next 4 months. And I'm praying that you will meet your person, okay? Because some of us are going to have to. I think it's just statistics that there's going to be some of us that meet our man in the season. If you follow me on YouTube, awesome. Make sure to subscribe. But if you don't, I just want to tell you that I have done like a 31-day prayer challenge that like is living forever on my YouTube channel. And so if you want to take that and, pray through 31 days for your future husband, that would be awesome. I think it's really helpful. I think it's really encouraging. So that would be a thing that I think you should do. But I love you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I'm so excited to be here every week with you guys. Just talking through like the realities of life and like where we are, Not everything's going to be about being single because there's so much more to life than that. But I like being in the trenches with my girlies. So I will see you guys again next time. Make sure to follow the show. Leave any comments, like if you have any thoughts. I would love to hear them. And I will see you guys again next week. Bye, guys.